Hey, my friends. This is Albert Cadabra, the Great Deceiver, the man with the golden sideburns. I'm kidding, I'm a goofball. Yeah, anyway. How's it going, Jim?
Good start.
That's me, that's my persona. So where'd I get my start? How'd I get involved in all this weird stuff? I know probably one of my earliest memories I was obsessed with, you might know it too, this show, That's Incredible. Everyone's That's Incredible. It was a great show, and I would see people, catching bullets in their teeth. I remember one guy, he would run towards speeding cars and jump over the entire car, and then one time he hit his foot on the window. I don't even know if that was, part of the build-up or not. I remember when the guy caught the bullet in his teeth, it was actually a little cylinder in his mouth, and he would catch a bullet, and then his gums were bleeding, and I was like, oh my god, this stuff is all real, and it's awesome. Some of there was contortionists, but I remember as a kid watching That's Incredible and being obsessed with the show. Who are these weirdos? What are they? I didn't even think about it as a living, No one tells you, hey, you can be a weirdo for a living. You can get paid to be a professional weirdo. No one's gonna tell you that. Even if you take theater classes, they're probably not gonna tell you that. So I was always obsessed with that. And another memory about that time, about 8 years old or so, because I'm from Rhinebeck, New York. It's upstate, about 2 hours north of here. And we would have our county fair, the Dutchess County Fair. And when I was a kid, they still had sideshows on the Midway. And I remember seeing Grady Stiles, the lobster boy, Grady Stiles, lobster boy on the Midway, went into his tent, and he was doing his spiel, and I was like, oh, yeah, because, he was an adult, and adults are weird for kids to begin with anyway, whether they have lobster claws or not. And then I remember one point in his pitch, he goes, and then there was Lobster's son. And his son came out of this swinging trap door, just like on the edge of the stage, up in our faces. And I was like, oh my god, because now I'm relating to this kid, it's on a personal level now, and I'm thinking, holy crap, what is that? Why is he like that? Can I get that? Can that happen to me? And I'm freaking out. And on that same Midway, and I read years later, it's because Grady Stiles owned one, was the girl to gorilla illusion. And if you don't know, it's a whole setup where this girl, and she's in a jungle outfit, and she's all kind of drugged out and comatose, and there's a talker talking it, saying how she was lost in a tribe somewhere, whatever. It's a different pattern every time, but she has this ability to morph into a gorilla. And they put her in a cage, lock the cage, and then she stands there, and then slowly, I'm a kid, and slowly, right before your eyes, you see her slowly morph into a gorilla. And then the gorilla starts going wild and shaking the cage, and I'm freaking out, but the talker's like, don't worry, there's absolutely no way, that's a steel reinforced cage, there's absolutely no way that gorilla is going to escape from that cage. And of course, the gorilla escapes from the cage and comes running out, and I just start bawling, I just start crying, this 8-year-old little redhead just crying at this gorilla. So those memories were in my head for years. I always had that girl to gorilla in my head for years, and I would ask people in Rhinebeck, what is this? What was that? No one remembered. I don't know what you're talking about. You're crazy. I don't know. And then, went through high school and college. Went to Bard College for theater was my major first, and I didn't like theater majors because they were on all the time. And then I was a music major, and then I was a film major. And film really stuck with me because Bard was a liberal arts school, so it was basically, here's a camera, go film some shit. And then, so there was kind of no restrictions. It was, film what you want, and then when you would project it, then they would say, why do you think you filmed that? And I'm like, oh, I get it now. Okay, there's reasons. And then you start, dissecting the art behind what you're creating. So anyway, I went to Bard. It's still in my head, and I wasn't one of those magicians who, I got a kit when I was a kid. All boys usually get a magic kit as a kid. So I had one of those, and I remember it. It was a top hat. There was a trap door, and I would do shows for my family. I don't think I was fooling them. Until I was about 12 or 13, I thought oh man, I really fooled them. I know now, I wasn't fooling anybody. Except one. I think I really fooled them with one. And I'm getting off track, but I think I really fooled them with one. There was, you borrow a quarter, you vanish it, and then you take an orange, and you take a knife, and you cut open the orange, and the quarter's in the orange. And I really think I fooled them with that, and it was the easiest one. It was the easiest one to do. And that was great. So I had that, but I never really, stuck with it. I didn't do it, I didn't do, my friends' parties, or be like, meh. I wasn't one of those guys. I had it, and I dropped it. And then I was just in bands for a long time. So I always had entertaining people was always in my head in some capacity, whether it was in a band, because I was in bands all through high school and college, whether it was being on the stage with theater, because I was in some plays in high school and won some awards there, and then I was a theater major at Bard, or whether it was filmmaking. Entertaining people is what it was always in my blood. So still, this girl to gorilla is in my head, and I don't know. No one knows what this girl to gorilla thing is. And I finally moved to the city after I left Bard, probably around 1996. So there's still like a lot of like great, old school sideshow people around. And, I start talking to people, and they're like, oh, that's the old girl to gorilla. I'm like, girl to gorilla? Which is exactly what I saw, but I never thought to look up. I mean, there was no Google back then. I couldn't Google girl to gorilla. I didn't know what the hell it was. I mean, now you can just look it up. Look it up, girl to gorilla. So that's when I started really getting involved in magic and sideshow. First, it was magic again. I started getting involved in like close-up stuff, card stuff, coin tricks, and I was doing stand-up comedy at the time. So I'm grasping. I'm mixing everything. It's like this hodgepodge of different art forms. So I'm doing stand-up comedy. I'm doing magic, and then I start getting involved in sideshow, and meet some sideshow people, and they start teaching me some. The human blockhead is the first one everyone learns. Some sword swallowing, which I don't do on stage because I don't really practice it that much, and I don't want to be one of those guys who, because when you're doing, I think to me when you're doing anything sideshow, you're kind of supposed to be sort of superhuman. So if you're doing sword swallowing and you're like, I think the audience is like, yeah, I could force something down my throat and choke on it. So I don't want to be that guy. So I don't really do sword swallowing, but I've made a good living off the human blockhead, which is the first thing I learned. I could tell you the story. I don't know. It's a crazy story. Okay, so I'm working. I told you I used to live over here on 15th Street in Park Slope. And it was right when I started getting into stand-up comedy. I'm doing some open mics. I'm doing, there's this guy, Faceboy, and it was Faceboy's open mic on Allen Street upstairs. And so I just started getting my feet wet in that field, and that's frightening. So in the meantime, I'm delivering pizzas for Two Boots. I'm delivering pizzas for Two Boots all over town. And there was this one pizza maker, and he said, yeah, I'm just, I'm here for a short time, and I'm starting a sideshow, and I'm going to start traveling with sideshow. And I was like, well, I want to do that. What can I do? What can I do? And he goes, you're going to do the human blockhead. And I was like, cool. How the hell you do that? And so he told me, go home, do this, do that, practice this. So I did, and I practiced it. And then one day he was just gone. I was like, oh, I guess that guy's gone. I guess that's not happening. And then, a few years later, I'm not delivering pizzas anymore, and I'm actually started working as an editor for Disney on this cartoon called Doug, blah, 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 blah. And then my friends and I one summer were like, hey, let's go to the Coney Island Sideshow. Yeah, let's go. Go down there, and there's the outside talker is talking. I'm like, wait a minute, that's the guy? So I walk up, and I'm like, Tyler? And he goes, Albert, is this guy Tyler Fire, who was he started out as an outside talker, but was the inside talker at Coney for years. He was the man. He was the face of Coney Island for years. His routines are fantastic. Anything he does is over the top and fantastic. He really takes the art form to a different level. And then he left, because, you stay at Coney for as long as you can take it. And then he left, and then my buddy Donnie Vomit went in there. So he was there for a long time. Now he left. What the hell was I talking about? Girl to gorilla. How'd I get started in this? I told you this was going to happen. I wander. I roam around. So I learned, and Tyler taught me the human blockhead. And since then, I just started, mixing sideshow with magic and comedy. So I'm this comedy sideshow magician with sideburns. I mean, that's why I did originally have like the mustache and the thing. And then I was like, everyone has that. I got rid of it and had the sideburns because I didn't, because if somebody was going to talk about me, they would say, oh yeah, that magician, which one? The one with the mustache and yeah, which one? The bald one, yeah, which one? So now they go, oh, that magician, which one? The one with the red sideburns, oh, Cadabra, yeah, okay, cool. So it was a whole marketing thing. So I was doing that and started, got involved in burlesque kind of early on and all that too, because I was, doing a magic show, and this woman saw the show, Joe Weldon, Joe Boobs. and she wrote the Handbook of Burlesque, and she runs the New York School of Burlesque, and she said, you would be perfect in burlesque. There's this show called Blue Angel, The Scandal, and it was at the Cutting Room years ago, and it was full nude back then, and I'm like, what am I doing? So I'm going to go in between, like, there's going to be a naked woman on stage doing crazy, awesome stuff, and then me, and then more naked, crazy, awesome women. What is the audience going to think? So I quickly had to learn how to adapt in that scenario. I mean, the first few times I was just like, and it was okay. You know, I got spattering round of applause, but I had to quickly sink or swim because I loved it. I loved the nightlife. I loved the people. I loved everything that was surrounding it. The whole scene was just fascinating to me because you can pretty much do whatever you want, and it's open to any sort of creative outlet, creative whatever you want to do. So now I got involved in burlesque, and it was fascinating. And then Ripley's opened up in Times Square, and there's this awesome, famous sideshow guy named Todd Robbins, and he is genius marketing, genius performer, and Ripley's is there, and they're kind of just like almost going into the red, you know, and because he lives right by there, and he said, you know what you guys need? You need a ballet show. You need a guy out front. Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. This, and they had the old general managers. And so Todd couldn't do it. So then he made some calls, and I was one of the people he called, and I was like, yeah, I can definitely do it. I can definitely do it. And so I went out there and started doing it, and I guess it worked. I started making them some money, and a new GM came in. Like when I started there, I was freelance, 1099. Have you ever been 1099? Sucks because you're like, yeah, I'm making all this money, and then at the end of the year, you're like, oh crap, I owe $10,000 in taxes. How the hell did that happen? You're supposed to put half aside. Half aside? No one tells me this. I'm a carny. No, I don't know business. I know the show part, business part. No. So a new GM came in, and luckily he's a great business guy. So it was more beneficial for them and more beneficial for me. He's like, listen, put you on a contract, give you a salary. And I was like, yes. So I've been there since 2008, and it's been a great ride still. Like, and I was amazed because when I first learned the human blockhead, I didn't want to do, here's a nail, here's a hammer, do, 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 do. So I created this whole story and this whole trick around the human blockhead, where it's actually sort of this card trick mind reading, and I had to tap into a psychic nerve and the deep within the recesses of my mind. So there's a whole story around it. And it wasn't until I was at Ripley's performing because I was performing, you know, in burlesque shows and performing for jaded New Yorkers who have seen the human blockhead. And it wasn't until I started performing the human blockhead 12 times a day, every day in front of Ripley's, to tourists who have never seen it before. And I'm getting huge crowds, and they're spilling out into the street. Cops are shutting my show down, and all I'm doing is taking a nail and a hammer and saying, basically, I mean, I have jokes and stuff, but here's a nail, here's a hammer, do, do, do. Oh my God! And then I realized, oh my God, I could just walk around with a nail and a hammer in my pocket. So that's what I do a lot of the times now. I sometimes will do the long version with the whole story and the trick, but a lot of times I'll just do the nail and the hammer, and it all, I mean, the nail in the head is sort of secondary to me and my personality and my jokes and my pattern, my likability on stage, and bringing someone up and interacting with them, and then like, oh yeah, Andy has a nail in his face. So it's an entertaining piece, and I happen to have a nail in my face, so I was able to adapt it to that. So that was great. And then best part is I got to they made me entertainment manager, because they're like, this is really working. We want people all the time. So you know, busy season during the summer, we go 7 days a week, 2 performers a day, and I get to bring other performers in, bring my friends in, hang out with my friends all day, sword swallowers, fire eaters, you know, glass walkers. My friend Jellyboy the Clown works out there. He's an amazing sword swallower. He has a flame-throwing sword. My friend Dubini works out there now. He does the old Houdini stunt, swallowing the needles, pulling them back out. So that's perfect for Times Square. And it's just a great job. It's as they say, hard way to make an easy living. So that's great. And then so I do that. That's during the day, and a lot of times my day is Ripley's for 7 hours, 12 shows a day, and then a couple of breaks, and then I have to go downtown and either perform at, host, or perform and host at a burlesque cabaret variety show. So my day could be, 12, 14 hours long of just performing. And I love it. I wouldn't change it for anything. I think back, and a lot of times, if I even start to complain a little bit to anybody who's just not in the business, they're like, are you seriously complaining? And then they're like, you hammer a nail into your face, you have health benefits, you MC a show with beautiful, talented people. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not complaining. No, I'm not complaining. I'm just tired. I just need a nap. Give me coffee. I'll be all right. So I think about stuff like that. And I just think about coming to the city, being a little kid who lived in upstate New York, who saw Girl to Gorilla when he was 8, had no idea what the city had to offer, no idea about this industry, no idea about this business, and then just come into New York City and be surrounded by, such a loving, creative community of artists that will, accept you, as long as you're not a jackass, which most of the time I'm not. So they'll accept you and they'll help you, and because they want you to succeed. Because if we all are great performers, then we all, do better, and the scene is better. The scene thrives better. We all get paid more. We all have more shows, more venues open up, because now people want to see more of us and more of what we do. So it's great to think back and if I could time travel, I mean, a lot of people say this, if I could time travel and go back to that kid who's just sitting home bored and Ryan like, don't worry, it's going to be okay.
Great. Thank you very much.